Hello everyone,
Hello, hello.
welcome to our channel
Israel Unleashed. Welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the Middle East.
Middle East.
And us living in Israel, we know that the Middle East is a very complex and sometimes dangerous place, and there's always a lot going on, and pretty much there's been a lot going on for thousands of years, at least the last 5,000 years that we know of. There's been one war after the next, and conquering of this nation and that nation, and Israel's had its fair share all through the Bible, as you've read the Old Testament. And nowadays, we come to today, where we realize that the mega problem we have today is Iran, and they're wanting to control the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, we also have our neighbor, which is like 10 miles from here where we're living, Lebanon.
What, Lebanon, Hezbollah?
And we have Hezbollah there, and
Syria next to them?
Syria. But the one thing that sticks out and why we talk about the Middle East today is that the situation in Lebanon is coming to
an end.
And the question is, how is it going to affect us or its other neighbors and possibly the rest of the Middle East? Because whatever happens in one country basically affects the whole Middle East, because the Middle East as a whole, it's pretty much one, and it has been for as long as history has been around there.
Yes.
But the situation in Lebanon, we have there's a food shortage, there's gas shortage, and there's all sorts of tension between rival groups like Shiites, Christians, Druze.
Lebanon is
Maronites.
full of all kinds of societies
Yeah,
trying to live together.
pretty much.
Yes.
And because of that and the tensions, it makes it a very explosive situation. And because it's so close to our border, and another thing, as you said, Hezbollah pretty much runs the country, and they get their funding from Lebanon, or from Iran.
From
sorry.
Iran, yes.
And their funding is not a good funding. It's not to help the people of Lebanon whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
It's mainly to build weapons and basically make plans to attack Israel, and hopefully, God willing,
Not add peace to the world.
and they're not peaceful whatsoever. And it makes the situation explosive. And living in Israel, all the time you see the army training and the planes up above us that are flying over and also doing missions.
Part of the tax money going to the military.
Yeah, but also another thing, a lot of the training, a lot of problems that we're facing today that we have been for a while. I'm not saying Lebanon's quiet, but I mean, in the meantime, it has its own problems, but it hasn't affected us, thank God. Knock on wood.
Listen, I wish them all the best to the Lebanese
Exactly,
people. I wish them to get along with us and
Hopefully we can make peace
share
with them.
Middle East with us, and that's all.
Hopefully we can make peace with them one day, but like a lot of times, the last couple of years, our army has been working in Syria against Iran and the fractions that support Iran, and we've gone out of our way to try to stop weapons from being shipped from basically over Iraq into Iran, or from Iran into Iraq into Syria, then to Lebanon. They call it a corridor, and it's been something that's been going on for many years and stuff. But this is the most explosive topic in the Middle East. It's not only Lebanon, it's also Iran, because why? Iran is run by pretty rogue individuals, man, and their intentions aren't good intentions, and then intentions in Iran aren't good for the people either. They keep them like a totalitarian government, man, with an iron.
Yes.
They rule them with an iron fist, and
Yes, they don't want them to free speech and all.
exactly. I mean, every time someone comes down to like protest or go against them, they
don't want them to leave.
they basically wipe them out, or they put them
It's
in
also
jail.
not good for Islamic people, if you ask me.
Pretty
It's
much,
not good for their tendencies over there.
pretty much. But I mean, I don't know. You look at the Bible sometimes, and you have the Babylonians, which were modern day in Iraq. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
and that chapter is pretty much over, because there's no more Saddam Hussein, and there's not really anything coming at our way from Iraq anymore, as there was.
But you have Daesh here and there.
And you have Daesh, ISIS.
ISIS.
And there's still a threat, but not as much as a threat as they
Yes.
were in the civil war of
The country
Syria.
is pretty collapsed.
Yeah.
Let's say it like that.
pretty much. I don't know. You have a lot of fractions who want to have like extreme religion, and pretty much this is what's kind of destroyed a lot of countries like Libya, Tunisia, and like Iraq and like in Syria. I mean, the die-hard religion is like has pretty much collapsed these places, and the wars that followed that, because these ideologies have basically spun out the situation that's arose from this. You know what I mean? I mean, look, in Syria we're looking at 11 years of constant civil war already, and in Lebanon, you had a civil war for many years, and it's still like a shaky situation, even though they're not having a civil war.
No, I think the wars has continued to be there.
There's definitely tension between like the Shiites and Sunnis and Christians and Druze and the other sects minorities there. I mean, like I seen on the news yesterday how there's people who were waiting in line for gas at a gas station like it's miles long. And you have people coming out in the street with machine guns, shooting at the army, shooting at other people. I don't know if it's going to major outlets of news worldwide, but because they're our neighbor and this pretty much affects us, we see this, you know what I mean? And so it filters out to here. But I know our government has obviously tried to help them. They're offering to send humanitarian aid and gasoline and food,
but it's
food
not,
and all that.
it's
But
not
I mean,
going to save them.
yeah, it's not that, but the problem is Hezbollah is stopping this from happening. Another thing, Hezbollah wants money, but it's not to save that. They want more money, basically to get more weapons and more things.
Listen,
They don't
Hezbollah,
really.
it's insane organization.
Yeah, and they don't care about the Lebanese people in general, even though they're Lebanese.
Not at all. Like the Hamas doesn't care about Palestinians in Gaza.
Exactly. They want to extort the situation.
Like the, what do you call it in the Samaria and Judah? How do you call it?
The West Bank.
The West Bank. Their Abbas and all, they don't care about Palestinians either.
No, not at all. Well, as if
They are corrupted and they hold the money to themselves.
As you've seen what's going on in the West Bank, you have lately you've had protests there and stuff like that, and every day you have problems there. But lately you have protests there again, not against Israel, and they've had protests against Mahmoud Abbas because he was elected for a 4-year term and he's served like 15 or 16 of years already as a leader, and a lot of young
Arafat died.
Yeah, since Arafat died in 2003 or something, I don't know, something like that. But so they're having protests in the streets, and he's beating them up, arresting them, shooting them, and all sorts of stuff. And this is stuff that you don't see on TV. Here, it's in the country, and we see it. That's why we can sit and talk about it and see it and tell people what's going on, because a lot of people have no idea, but a lot of people don't.
Wrong understanding of things.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't understand that, like, these people, for them, it's a business. They get money, that makes them rich. They, it's like a constant, it's a business for them. They act like they want sympathy from the world, and
they want to present Jews as enemies in order not to handle with their money problem. They want that all the attention will be given to against Jews. That's all.
Pretty much.
We are the enemies. We are guilty of their situation. It's not like that.
Well, they got one intent in mind, and their goal is to destroy Israel. Hezbollah says it, Hamas says it, Iran says it, and everybody else who hates us, they say it too. Their goal is to destroy our country. It's when they talk about river to sea, from the river to the sea, it's not like let's make peace and we're going to live side by side, and that means genocide completely. Let's wipe them out.
Well, they speak about peace sometimes, but they want to make peace in order to get us out of here. That's all. They want that.
You ever notice the funny thing is, like, when they talk about peace, they get together and then all of a sudden they get money, and then there's all sorts of fighting and this and that. After that, and then it's quiet again. You know what I mean? That's how it always happens. I mean, ever since I can remember, that's all. It's like a cocktail party. Let's get together. We get money. We do our thing. You do your thing. If we fight, then there's quiet, and then when we need money and all that stuff's run out, we do it again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know, I want to say it's almost like a revolving door in a way. You know what I mean? Because it's not something that's ever going to end. You know, people ask me all the time,
Listen,
why don't you just make peace with them?
I think if the Palestinians, Arabs of will can handle their bosses, their government, can make it fall, there is a chance to do some. I don't talking about peace, but maybe more serious relationship than it's today. Maybe
Right.
if they will pick someone is less corrupted and not corrupted at all.
Well, you do realize that Mahmoud Abbas is a billionaire. He's not a millionaire. He's a billionaire.
But
I mean, you know, you realize the kind of money that, like, you know, Iran sends to Hamas and Hezbollah. I mean,
I understand,
it's
but also he
it's in the heavy millions, man.
but he uses the support of his people
Right.
in order to stay to be like a
Well,
boss.
you know, you'd be so funny. We live here, and you know, people think that like we're fighting every day on the streets. I mean, that's not true. I live Carmel, from where we live, and we're reporting from
Surrounded by Arabic
many Arab villages.
villages,
and stuff,
yes.
And we go in and out. We eat there. We have businesses together.
we eat there. No,
No, I mean they have restaurants you can go.
I don't
there
eat
and
there
whatever,
because I'm keeping kosher.
Exactly.
That's my reason.
You-
But then I don't afraid to access there. That's
Yeah.
right. From
Well, you
this
can go
point
there
of view.
freely, and you know they welcome you. They come here.
We
welcome
have
them,
Arabs workers everywhere, and the banks and the
doctors and
doctors
police, lawyers.
and yes, in the marketplace,
every
we
bit
talk
of-
with them, we speak with them,
and every bit of society. You have them, and we have us.
we argue with them about politics.
Exactly. They argue with us about politics.
Yes.
Sometimes it goes well, and sometimes it doesn't go well. But,
Yes.
yeah. This is the Middle East. It's such a hot topic that, you know.
Welcome,
this is what
welcome
happens
to Middle
here.
East.
Well, definitely. But you know, it's funny when you try to explain sometimes to people about how life is in the Middle East, if not Israel. You know, I mean, it's like they really can't like grasp the situation because it almost looks like a complete like madness situation. You know what I mean?
Well,
If people don't understand why there's fighting and then why there's peace and why we live together when we don't live together. You know, I mean, it's such a complex situation that it's like.
but the
it's-
press makes it more dramatic than the.
Well, you know, the press, they take one side or the other, you know what I mean? You have some that are for Israel, then some against Israel and stuff like that, but I mean, the picture's a lot bigger than that, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And this is what they're not expressing and what they're explaining, and I mean, really, I mean, like, you know, how many people know what ISIS is really doing in Syria, you know what I'm saying? I doubt, if you ask somebody on the street in Europe or America, that I'm pretty sure you can ask a couple of people, they'll know, but a majority of the people that probably have no idea what these people are really doing. They think
No,
they're just
we
some
don't
terrorist
know.
organization and stuff, but
We have to ask Syrian people about ISIS.
Yeah.
Then we'll get the real picture of it.
pretty much.
Assuming that they will tell us truth.
Not only
That's all.
them, you have the people in Iraq. They try to wipe out all the Yazidis and the minorities and the Christians and stuff like that. I mean, you have them in Africa trying to wipe out.
Actually, when I think
Christians and stuff like that.
all those issues, the actual picture you can get only from the place that you live in.
Right.
All the other countries, you don't not till the end understand it, if you understand it at all.
I mean, you know what's funny about this whole situation is that I don't really think people on a whole realize that for the last 11 to 12 years that like there's been a war going on between Islam and Christianity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's been problems. There's been like attacks against us, but there's been a bigger war that's not such a publicized thing between Islam and Christianity.
Okay.
And you know, I don't know if you look at what's going on in Syria and Iraq, and also Nigeria. Nigeria is like another hot spot. We have a couple different terrorist groups like Boko Haram and ISIS, and they're attacking and kidnapping and killing Christians and stuff like that.
Okay.
And like you know, you have like I said in Nigeria and Iraq and Syria, where you have a lot of Christians who are from the Bible times living here, and they're trying to wipe them out. And you see a lot of terrorist attacks. You see a lot of terrorist attacks on the news, but they don't really say it. It's against Christians, you know. I don't know, because I guess maybe it's not proper to say that. It's not politically correct to say that. But honestly, if you're not telling people what the true story is, then people don't really know. You know what I mean? Yeah, you hear Jews, and all that stuff, you know. But I mean, the ultimate goal is to kill us, obviously. But obviously, they all want to take out the other group too. You know what I mean? But this has been an ongoing thing ever since the dawn of time, to a point, between all the major religions.
But let's say if you tell the truth on the news about what happened in Syria, and the people in the United States hear it, in the United States you have is people who is Muslim, right?
Right.
It can affect society inside of the United States.
I'm
And
pretty
maybe
sure. I'm
the
pretty
press
sure it
don't want
does.
it, people to.
Like, you know, you have attacks like that you hear about in America and stuff like that, but they don't come out and say that, like, you know, somebody of this group did this to this group. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when it comes to Jews, then yeah, you hear it as an anti-Semitic attack or whatever like that. So you know specifically what group is being targeted. But when it's talking about, like, you know, other groups of people, they don't really necessarily talk about it like in the way they talk about it like Jews. You know. So you don't really know, but I mean, like,
They are more sensitive when they're talking between the
yeah.
tension between Christian and Muslims.
I'm not quite sure why they do that, but I mean, I don't know. When it comes to, like, offending people, being this whole PC culture that they've had lately and stuff like
It's
that.
connected, but
It's connected,
I tell
and
you,
they don't want to talk
I
about
tell
that.
you my opinion that Muslims can protect themselves.
Oh, of course.
The minute the group can protect herself, you cannot talk
No.
about her the way you want.
No.
And the Christians, of course, can protect themselves also, but the Jews sometimes not. So you
I mean,
allow
like,
yourself
yeah.
to talk about them
We know, for example, I mean, like,
whatever
like,
you want.
me being an American, I mean, I see that, you know, we started a war in Iraq, we started a war in Afghanistan.
Jews.
No, the American government.
American
saying
government.
they went to, you know, after 2001, they attacked Afghanistan and they attacked Iraq and.
Okay.
And you know, I guess Afghanistan I can understand. Iraq I really couldn't understand why, but whatever. That, I guess in another episode we'll have to do some history and digging out on that. But we basically started wars with the Arabs there, and we didn't win. And now you see that we're pulling out of these countries. And now, like in Afghanistan, in September we're going to be pulling out of America's going to be pulling out of Afghanistan completely. And watch what happens next after that. The Taliban is going to retake the country like they did in the beginning when they first started the war. And basically, it'd be a 20-year war for nothing. You know what I mean? And you realize how strong, like you said, the Arabs are. You know what I mean? They can defend themselves. I mean, they have the group, they have the people to do it, and they can definitely defend themselves. And you know, and it makes the Middle East even more interesting, and it even makes it even more dangerous.
Interesting for Jews to live inside of this whole mess.
Well, the fact that we've been able to survive here for so many thousands of years and still continue living. But I mean, like, you know, we know the mentality, we know the people, and I mean, we're a part of them as they're a part of us. That actually gives us home field advantage to a point. You know what I mean?
The thing is that you know that in the end, we should all get along with each other.
Of course.
But because the way is so long, we have to, let's say, know how to protect ourselves from them,
Of course.
from their savage behavior towards us, on the feeling that we are the enemies, that we are the ones to
Well, you know, it's funny that I
blame.
I have a lot of friends that I know that are Muslim and stuff, especially from the villages across the way, because they live here and work here in town. And I've had many conversations about, you know, Islam and the Quran and you know, I mean, you realize Muhammad does teach about how Israel is for the, you know, the Jews, and you know, they don't ever learn that because that's not something they, you know, imams want you
Can't
to know.
afford themselves to think.
I'm not saying a lot of these people are dumb and stuff like that, but I mean, like, I know a lot of people who are very uneducated, you know what I'm saying, and they don't really go to school, they work with their parents and their family and their own business and stuff like that, and they don't have such a hot education. I know a few of them, even though they're good people, don't know how to read or write, or let alone use a telephone, and this is a lot of problem with a lot of people in the Middle East. You have a lot of people who are educated, but you have a lot of people who aren't educated because of money or all sorts of things, maybe the family status or
But
whatever.
if a person is educated, like as you're saying, it makes him feel, you know, more open to another person. What you saw? I saw doctors and professors who is against Jews in the Israeli country.
I've seen the same thing. Right?
So what you have to say?
It
about
depends on the same thing, but like what my point was when I, like, you know, I talked about, like, you know, because I read the Quran and I read the New Testament and stuff like that growing up, and I read our Bible too. They all seem to correspond with one another. You know what I'm saying? They all talk about how Israel's for the Jews, and this is
So you're saying-
Muhammad he might have killed us in Medina and Mecca to make Islam that home for them and whatever, that a holy place for them, because there were Jews living there during the time of Muhammad and stuff. And when he wiped them out, whatever, but he never touched the people who lived in Israel.
Okay.
But I mean, like, a lot of the reason why people say the Dome of the Rock or the Temple Mount is the third holiest site of Islam is because in his dream he ascended to heaven with a horse from the dome, but he never even came here. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's like, how do you make that like the third holiest site? I mean, that's them. Whatever.
So you claim the two three religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, agree that the Jews have to be in Israel. It's okay.
To a point,
That's what you claim.
they teach about it. Depends on who you ask sometimes. Even in Christianity, you have some sort of extreme people that, like, they believe in, like, Jesus is coming back and Jesus is he's gonna be the Messiah. He's gonna come back and he's gonna make everything good. I mean, even in Islam, you have a Messiah. I mean, they believe Muhammad's gonna be the Messiah who's gonna come back like Jesus.
Yeah, they have another
I mean, we
word
have
for
a
that.
Messiah. We have no idea who he is, and they have a Messiah. They say he's Jesus, and they have a Messiah. He's Muhammad. The story is almost completely the same when it comes to the end. Yeah.
Mhm.
If you ask these people and talk with certain groups of people, you get this one. This is how they think. Because when I came, I was very interested to know. What is your Bible? I mean, I read your Bible, but I mean, what's your interpretation of
Okay.
what's going to happen in the end, or what, and I got the story from them and them, so it was interesting to hear, man, you know what I mean? But I mean, like, the story all kind of corresponds with one another, I mean, they all have different histories to a point because they all take place in different times, but they both of those religions take whatever they like from the Old Testament and make them with their own religion.
Whatever they like, you said.
No, well, Abraham was the father of this, and they believe in Moses, and they all believe in this. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that they deny. They believe in the patriarchs of Judaism and stuff like that, which you find interesting. They believe in that. They have it in their own interpretation, but they believe in that. They believe in Moses. They believe in Abraham. You know what I mean? They if you read their Bibles, they talk about that. They wouldn't have the religion if they didn't get it from our Bible. You know what I mean? What they wanted from our Bible.
Of course, our Judaism, it's like it's a stage for them to be up upon you, in order to have them.
Probably. I've heard from each. It depends on who you ask. Sometimes, like, I've had. I don't want to say I had Christians that say they were like above us, or Muslims that say they were above us.
They
because
say it. They say it, man.
They do say it.
They say it, and it's
Yeah.
okay. And it's okay to
It's
argue.
okay. It's fine.
If it's a matter of arguing or discussing,
Yeah.
it's okay.
I mean, every person has his own belief. You know what I mean? So it's
That's
like,
right, that's
but
right.
This is like the main core of some of the problems of, like, religion that
Who is above who?
Yeah.
Who's
Like a lot of you ask a lot of people from other religions, they like, we had our chance, we lost it, and now we're the ones, and like, this is what they're taught to believe. But I mean, in the end, we'll all find out who's right and who's wrong. Obviously, if you ask me. But
Till then,
until then,
we should get along, no?
We should get along, but the problem is that some people don't want to get along.
God
so-
will come and tell us, listen, they were right, you were wrong. Now sit together and be quiet.
Exactly, but
I'll tell you what to do.
Another problem with the Middle East, it's as we say, it's so fucking hot here, and that doesn't tend to help out anyway, because the heat. The heat tends to make people mad and
maybe.
make people want to fight with one another. Because
This is what God gave us.
This is what God gave
we
us,
have to
yeah.
work through. It's okay.
no,
If
eventually,
we were,
eventually,
if it was, above Russia and Norway,
Yeah.
they would get along in
Yeah.
order to eat each other.
and they still don't get along, as you can see. But this is how it's like. There's so many complex stories and situations in this part of the world that people outside this part of the world don't understand sometimes. And I think this is what makes it interesting. I mean, there's never a dull moment living around here. I mean,
Yes, that's
I
right.
mean, it could be very scary sometimes because you have like rockets sometimes falling on your head,
Yeah, but it's
have-
really
you-
sometimes.
and then
Not,
you,
not
and then you
all
have
time.
wars that have happened, and I mean, you had this latest situation in Gaza and stuff. It was like a month ago or whatever. But like this is what happens. This is how life is here. I mean, either you learn to accept it and believe in the Borei Olam, or the God.
The God, yes,
and believe-
Almighty.
And if you believe that He's going to guide you and protect you no matter what happens, then you have nothing to fear, no matter what happens here. But this is the Middle East, man. This is what This is what drives people. It drives the Christians. It drives the Muslims. It drives the Jews.
Listen, we're the center of the world.
We're the center of the world, but this is where it all started, and this is where it's all going to end, man. You know what I mean?
Yes,
But the funny thing, it's not really an end. It's a new beginning.
it's a new beginning of something new that's gonna occur after that. Yes.
Exactly. So it's not an end. So you don't have to worry about fire and brimstone and like everyone's going to die and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about that. Obviously, there are bad things and scary things that are going to happen, but in the end, something good will happen from it. Always, the funny thing is you learn in life in this situation or in this part of the world that normally when something bad happens, something good comes out of it. Now, that's what's kind of weird to say sometimes, yeah? I could have never said that when I lived in America, but now I live here, I can say that, which is like sometimes baffles me. And sometimes I want to be able to express that to people, but I don't know how to say this, you know what I mean? Because if you don't live here and you don't understand the situation, it's hard to express how it is here to people, and how to get them to understand where you're coming from. But like, I try to explain it in the best words I possibly can.
Listen, when I see people talking about Middle East, it thrills me actually because they're so concerned about us. It makes me feel that we are connected.
Yeah.
Like, as they connected to us, you
Oh, I know.
understand? In
You're-
spite of the fact that they are Christians,
Yeah.
let's say it like that, let's say it openly, the empathy that when people sympathize you, you feel it, and you say it. Wow, oh, it's something.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like it's like almost like a Friday night football game in America. You're in high school and you're like, you have one team rooting for this team and another team rooting for the other team, and everyone's watching you play. You know
But
what I
that's
mean?
not excite you, is it? When
No,
it
I know,
comes-
but I mean, like,
it not comes to the real thing, you know.
when you see it on the news, though, it's like you have one side who is for like the Palestinians and this and that, and you have other people pro-Israel and.
But it's not.
And-
It's not something childish.
No, it's not
because-
something childish, but it's like here we are. Everything's going on the way it needs to go on here, and there's nothing that anyone can say or anyone can do to stop that. It's meant to happen. It is what it is. But the fact that the news only shows these people rooting for these people and this group of people supporting that people rooting for that people, it makes it like almost like a Friday night football game in a way.
I understand you.
You know what I mean? It's like the world doesn't understand the Middle East whatsoever. Even governments don't understand this place. There are a couple that have tried, but like they don't, because you don't live here. They don't understand it. You know what I mean? But there are governments that come out this way. A lot of the problems are from governments who are outside this place. You know what I mean? And-
The governments can add the problems to the problems that there are. Let's say it, and they from another end they cannot solve the situation because we even don't know what the situation is. Let's say it like this. We'll argue. The argue is between us and the Muslims. Let's say what is the right way. There is this exact argue between the Jews and the Christians and the Muslim. What is the right way?
True.
If let's say it on in the most lower level, if people might think if they are not right, they have no privilege to live here, at least here, right? And if one of us is right, okay, he has he has this ability to tell everybody what to think, and that's why we are trying through fights and wars to understand where we at when we are fighting with our nations, our religion people. We try to understand, all of us trying to understand where we at, what God wants from us, and it's not easy, and it's a process.
It's definitely a process. I mean, honestly, you can never know what God really wants from you. You can only like try to live the way you think that He wants from you, and even that might not be the way He wants from you. But in the Middle East, when it comes to the Middle East, it's like, I mean, the last 100 and something years have been more of like, what you see today. I mean, like obviously, like we'll say before World War One, there wasn't many states that that of today. I mean, like Iraq and Iran, they've always kind of been here.
It was less complicated.
It was less complicated, but I mean, like they were kingdoms back then. They weren't run by governments. Now they used to be kingdoms. Egypt was a kingdom. We had a kingdom.
The motives were easy to understand. The motives of the
the motives were easy to understand. But I mean, like once people realized that there's oil here, and they were able to take it, and basically they looked at these people like people who lived here, like because we lived in a certain way, like idiots, like nomadic. There was nomadic people back then, and there was a lot of oil, and people rich people wanted to come, and they took it and try to extort the shit out of the people, and then they used the people against one another to get what they wanted. But this is what brought on the scene. But I mean, you realize that back in like the 20s of the last century, that the British and the French and the UN and stuff are the people who carved out the countries that you see here today. I mean, they were kingdoms and stuff, and they didn't look like they weren't shaped like the countries you see on the map of today. And like the Middle East looked a lot different. I mean, like look for Israel, for example. I mean, it didn't look really. I mean, it didn't really look like what you see on the map today. I mean, it was also part of Jordan, and once the British came in and the French came in and started making lines and people, and then countries started getting involved, that changed the whole face of the Middle East and how you view it today, basically, and made it look like the way it looks today. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been one kind of catastrophe after the next because of that. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, and we have to live with that. You know what I mean? But I mean, the only way to change it is, I guess, fight each other and stuff like that. But you have to wipe people out, and who wants to do that? That's not right to do. You know what I mean? But this is what makes this place complex. It's funny because you see on the news, you see people they want to blame us for everything, but on the other hand, it's not us who are really to blame. We have had things happen to us, and we came and whatever, and there were people who were already here, and there are Jews that lived here for hundreds of years, but more Jews have come home because of their right to be, their right of return, as they say. But we're not really the ones, honestly, to blame in the situation. We're not the ones who made the borders. We're not the ones who took the oil. You know what I mean? This has been our history for 5,000 years. Almost 6,000 years. We've had, we have basically claimed. I mean, the Bible in a way is almost like a document, a contract. Basically,
it's a contract between us and God.
Claim. Not only with God, but I mean, because God gave this gift. This land is a gift to us.
It's a gift, right?
It is a gift. I mean, you can't tell God. You can argue. You can argue with him and yell at him, but I mean, in the end, you can't really argue with God. If He's giving you something, you take it. You do it.
You can argue.
You do it. You do as He tells you to do.
Look at Abraham.
Yeah.
About Sodom and Gomorrah, he was arguing with you in order to save those people.
Right.
Right.
You have that many times with the Bible, where even Moses argued with God and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He argued with him and pleaded with him, and in the end, he had to do what God told him to do. You know what I mean? In the end,
they agreed on something.
In the end, because of that, he perceived his vision clearly. You know what I mean? And he did what he needed to do, and that's what made him such a righteous person. You know, I mean, this is one reason why today we still acknowledge his existence of who he was and what he was, and the mission that he carried out. And not only did he bring us from Egypt back home, I mean, he's an important figure in our religion. You know, I mean, he's pretty much made. He was the one who gave us the laws, even though Abraham gave us the covenant. You know? But even I guess with religion, you have.
I think
very complex things that
people would talk more with each other about those hard subjects.
It's a very hard subject.
And not.
I mean, even being Jewish, I'm not as religious as you. But I mean, I like to say I'm religious. But
I'm going to kill you right now.
I'm sorry, but I mean,
I came with a gun. I'm going to kill you because you're not religious enough for me.
Exactly.
So like a sinner. I'm a righteous. He's a sinner. gonna kill him.
But that's how it is. This is exactly how it is. But you know, I mean, the funny thing is you have such people who are that are so extremely religious, like like ISIS, man. I mean, they're so whacked out religious that like they want to make people, they want to tax people who aren't religious, and they want to kill people and cut their heads off because they're not religious enough. I mean, like this. If you're not religious, then you're looking at that like that's something insane. But
The God that
if you look at if you're in their shoes, that looks like it's something normal. You know what I mean?
it's like Nazis, no?
Almost. I mean, yeah. I mean, like they've literally genocided God knows how many people, man. I mean, they show you, they only tell you a certain amount of numbers on the news, but I mean, I know that the number's a lot higher than that, man. And they've managed to ravage many countries, man, over their views on how they look at religion and how you should be, and it's honestly sad. I mean, especially after I'm sitting here for many years. I mean, I'm not so far from the Syrian-Lebanese border, and you used to be able to hear them fighting completely. I mean, it was a couple of times I actually went up to the border, and I can actually see them in the valley on the Golan Heights fighting with each other, shooting rockets and shooting at each other. It was like, I mean, it was almost like a live movie. It was like the most insane thing.
Yes, it's sad, but we cannot change every country we want the way we do, right? We only can hope that those people will take example from us, how to cooperate with each other.
What's interesting now is you had when Trump was in power, you have the Abraham Accords, and we made peace with the United Arab Emirates. We're all pretty much Saudi Arabia, but it's not open yet. But we have a lot of dialogue with Saudi Arabia, and we visit them and stuff. Our government does talk to them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Gulf state countries have made peace with us. I mean, they're not in a situation with us and the Palestinians and stuff like
Maybe
that.
They're starting to understand that Jews, they can cooperate with Jews in spite of all that's written in their Quran, right?
Sure.
And we are serious people and reliable people. We can cooperate and make good differences in our world. So what's wrong with that?
Well, the good thing is that you're starting to see that today. I mean, honestly, that changes the balance of power in the Middle East. There was always a die-hard stance that, we're to blame and never make peace with us. You have the conference that happened in Sudan so many years back, and there was the famous the three no's. You know what I mean? And that was always the curriculum of how they should view the Jewish state in the Arab world. You know what I mean? And nowadays you see the biggest change with it. We have warm welcomes even after the situation that happened in Gaza. We still have peace with these countries, and people we're free to go to these countries now. We were never able to go there before.
Yes.
So that's like a milestone. I mean, this is something amazing. I mean, to be able to go to Iraq or be able to go to...
But it's something that was before this wave of anti-Semitism in the 20th century.
Right.
The Jews, let's say it like this, they were... they used to honor Jews in Muslim countries.
Right.
Relatively.
That's when
Only relatively.
That's when you had a lot of Jews living in those countries, but nowadays you hardly have any of them.
After we have our country, right?
That's when you've seen them kick us out.
That's what they tried to kill us.
Whoever stayed, they slaughtered them.
And now they're starting to accept us as a country, and starting to recall that we are humans like them, and we are a serious collaborator.
Right.
That's all. So we have.
I mean, honestly, if you can imagine, I mean, say there was no Hezbollah, there's no. I mean, say there's none of these terrorist groups and stuff, and no one's out to destroy the country here, and there was actually peace here, where there's never been peace ever here. You know what I mean? But I mean, there's actually peace.
But it's not something that they should,
I know, but the funny thing is,
they're afraid to change it.
Can you imagine the world that we're living in if we had peace here with all these countries? I mean,
I can't imagine.
I mean, can you imagine next weekend you want to go to Beirut to go visit, sit on the beach and drink tea, or go?
It sounds good.
It sounds cool, man.
It sounds cool.
Or you want to go to the city Ur, where Abraham was born in Iraq, or you want to see the what?
To eat there in the kosher restaurant, why not?
No, I know, but like the ziggurats in Iraq or something like. I mean, these are historical things that are more than 5,000 years old. I mean, if you're able to drive there or fly there and see that stuff, I mean,
If people would appreciate one another,
yeah, it'd be
right?
awesome.
There were no divorces. There were no fights between the countries.
Pretty much.
There was no adopted kids because everybody was
Pretty much.
save his kids for his own family. So the world will be great, and the world will be developing to others towards good things. It would be great to have peace.
I mean, honestly, if you can bring peace to the Middle East, you'd have a lot of peace in the world. I mean,
That's right.
There are certain countries that
Because
there are
we are the
problems, but
hottest spot.
we're the
you
hottest
know.
spot because it's so damn hot here. Because the sun, man.
Blame the sun, right?
Blame the sun, man.
Not our behavior.
No, but honestly, we're on a mission, man, and we need to come together and be one. And if we can achieve peace, the world would be a whole different place. It wouldn't be like what we know now. You know what I mean?
It sounded that will going to happen when the Messiah is gonna
Exactly.
come.
Once the Mashiach comes, I mean,
But I understand before he comes, we have
We
to
need to prepare
we have to
ourselves, you know.
achieve
put
this
ourselves
love.
together and put ourselves in.
How do you call it? Avat Chinam? How do you say it in English?
Abnat Chalam.
Avat Chinam. Love
Love one.
without conditions.
Without conditions, yeah.
Unconditional love. So
Of course.
let's move with that.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I mean, I laughed at someone said to me one time, like, you should, like, you should hate Muslims and Muslims should hate you. And I'm like, I thought to myself for a second, after living here for a while, I thought to myself, I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I said, I turned my response back after thinking for a minute was like, if you live in Israel and you don't realize how much you need them and they need you, you know what I'm saying? Like I mean, because you live with each other, you have no choice but to get along. But I mean,
You have choice.
because they're
Listen,
you're in their society and they're in your society, you have no choice but to live with them. But
You can
You know what I
optionally decide to kill them, but why? Why to do this? God didn't create them in order to you to kill them. Why?
not at all,
That's all.
not at all. The fact that people do that and stuff like that daily, and that happens,
That's
it's
the-
and the way people sometimes have killed people and like we're happy about it was like it's disgusting. You know what I mean?
Start to solve your own problems. Don't give out your frustration on others.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
But sometimes, like you see, like them extorting, like certain people, that, like, well, like I'll say, for example, like I've seen some situations where, like you have like the pay for slay in Judea and Samaria that like the Palestinians want to do for if you kill a Jew that we'll pay you for it. No matter how many you kill, we'll pay you more money.
That's what's happened when sick people runs
Right.
countries
Exactly.
and organizations.
Good organizations. I mean, it's bad enough that like your government's actually not about peace whatsoever. They want to pay you to kill people, man. I mean, like it's like hiring hitmen and to come out and kill people. I mean, like the sickness is twisted about that. You know what I mean? I mean, I met many Palestinians. You go to Jerusalem, you see them walking around and other Jews walking around and stuff, and you go to the shops and you talk with them and stuff like that, and the majority of them don't hate you whatsoever. They ask you if you hate them.
I don't.
Why do you,
I don't
they ask,
know.
they ask you if you
Majority,
hate.
minority. I can tell you that the Arabs I met in my life
Yeah.
were different. Tell you the.
I can tell. I've never met Arabs that actually hate me. I can actually tell you that I've met Arabs that disagree with us, and I've disagreed with them. You know what I mean?
Listen,
But we don't have to agree on everything. You know what I mean?
There are people that have issues with you. Okay.
Of course.
Some of these issues is more on national nature. Okay. But it's something that you can solve. Okay. And even if the person cannot solve it with you, it's not that doesn't give us the right to to do the forbidden thing.
That's true.
That's all. That's
I
all.
mean, it's a sin to kill.
Maximum the person doesn't like you, don't be his friend. Stay away from him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
I mean, what you do in your own home It's your own time, your own freedom, and you can do whatever you like. I mean, you know, what you do outside is what affects society.
If you have people,
This is what you see on TV and stuff, but what people do in their own home, you never see that.
if you have people who seek other people to danger them, to make them something bad,
Those are evil people,
handle them.
and they're evil. And evil, honestly.
Even if they're evil, you have in each situation how to handle this.
Well, you know, you're right. But I mean,
Sometimes you have to fight.
in the long run, if you can't, defeat evil, you should destroy evil.
If you have to
If you have- if you
kill
have to-
someone in order to protect yourself, it's also okay.
If you have no choice.
If you have no choice, no other choice, listen.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm pretty
Thank
sure
you.
there's a lot more we can talk about. 'Cause
Oh, we enjoyed every minute.
The Middle East is such a big topic, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there who want to know more. But hopefully, in the end, if people have comments or whatever, want to know more, feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer.
Don't be afraid to criticize us. It's also okay.
It's also okay. You don't have to like us either, but we still love you, and all
Thank
is
you.
good. And hopefully, we'll see you next time on the next video. And
Take care of yourself.
be safe, much health, much happiness, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.